How you been, man?
Well, we've been hanging in. I will say that it's been, I think, very privileged in the sense that we've been very fortunate in that the team has been closer. Like clients have been responding well. Like we've tried to take a very proactive approach. So I never want to sound insensitive and be like, great, because it's people are struggling. But
They are, man. It's I'm getting it all over the country, every practice area. It's nuts, man.
It's interesting because I think you see two things happening. One, I do predict that people will get bored of talking about COVID-19. So like you'll hear it enough on the news, and at some point, like maybe in another month, they're like it just you almost you have like a threshold. You develop like a tolerance for it.
Yeah.
So it's just like okay, it's like you're hearing about the flu. And then the other thing is just like I think people just make their decision in terms of like if by a certain point they haven't started being proactive, I almost feel like they're just going to go,
You're going to tank, man. And It's interesting, and I don't know kind of what the questions are, but I've got some people who are just doing that exactly. They're just like ostriches.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got others that are being really aggressive. Like Bader is just, there's some people out there that are just like seizing.
They know. Surrey as well. They
Surrey's
do proactive. Like, when I see that kind of stuff, I'm like, we talked about it this morning in our morning huddle. I was like, I predict that businesses are going to, like, during this time, are going to make 3 years progress in 3 months. So meaning like they're doing things that they're going to come out of better business that they may not have done for a long time, or they may have been putting off, or maybe not have done ever, but they're gaining an edge because it's like, if you can fight with one arm behind your back and you're good at that, then it's great when the whole world has to fight with one arm behind their back.
So that's one of the things, like, you can squeak by not using technology, not being paperless, not being, efficient. And now it's really hurting them. Like the people that don't have case management, that aren't paperless, that haven't been marketing, they're getting crushed. They're getting crushed because they're like, oh shit, I should have done this a long time ago.
It's like it's almost like what survival of the fittest to an extent. Because like I had a lot of empathy in month one, in the sense, and I still do, but probably more sympathy in month one. But at this point, it's like, guys, man, like time to go, because this is the reality.
And it's not going to change for a while. I mean, It's going to be like this. I think most of 2020 is a wash because you're going to get hit in May, June, and then I think it'll kind of kick back a little bit in July, and then you get hit again in September with the second wave from all the stuff that wasn't happening back in, April.
Hopefully it's done by October 31st.
Yeah.
We got a little event taking place in November. We tried to put it as far as we could. That was actually, I think we got lucky. But if, I do hear that it's also coming back. We'll see, if that happens, then there's no events all year. Like nothing's happening. Like
which, I mean, if it affects both of us, like I was supposed to speak at, I think, like 3 national conferences in March. All got canceled.
Everything started to shut down. So I still predict to an extent that we could be back at least some segments of the country, maybe not like New York and high dense or even high risk people, but I predict we'll start going outside again in May. I would be hard pressed to see if they're going to quarantine us for another 30 days after that.
People start going crazy.
Yeah, and also economic impact. I mean, the thing with the SBA, I think could be the greatest financial of all time, because I have no idea how they're even going to process this, the sheer amount and the number of businesses, not to mention they actually making sure that, it's legit, there's not fraud, you know what I mean?
This. So there's that $10,000 one. There's the Department of Labor for Georgia that's covering unemployment for the gap. So if you're working 20 hours and you're supposed to be working 40, they'll pay the other 20 hours and not increase your tax rate and not charge you, forgive it, and that's just, like, how do you prove that?
Yeah, not to mention, you look at the number of auditors that even exist in America. I think they cut it by 50%. Like, there's going to be, what is it, like 80 million at least applications submitted. Like, it's a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's cut into this. So this, by the way, this whole thing is only like 10 minutes. Like, we wanted to do these short segments that we could get out quickly. And the theme of it is leading through adversity. But basically what we wanted to do is, there was so much doom and gloom on social media and just on the news that people were talking about what they can't do, but I wanted to talk to people who were proactive, and we're talking about the things that you can do, and perhaps some positivity, because when other law firm owners see other law firm owners doing something, they're like, okay, well, maybe all the people that I know, are kind of fixed. So that's the whole point of this. And it's not too formal. We could just cut in, but I wanted to ask you before we start, is there anything off limits that you wouldn't want to talk about? Okay. All right. All right. Well, Alvaro, I'm very excited you and I get to speak today.
Me too, man. I was looking forward to talking to you about how all this has been affecting us.
This is all a dream. We wake up and it's just like this one nightmare that we've all had. But that said, in a way, this has been a blessing to many as well. Like we've talked about this even before we started recording, in the sense that perhaps some businesses are going to make more progress over this period, let's say 3 months, than they would have made in 3 years with technology, infrastructure, innovation, all the good things that will come out of this.
Yeah. I mean, for the last couple of years, you've seen this curve of people paying attention to processes, being more efficient, utilizing technology, working remotely, being paperless, focusing on social media marketing, like Gary Vee says and everyone else. And so they were ahead of the curve. And now that this is forced the whole world to be in this situation, I think the people that weren't on that bus are realizing how critical it is to have those processes, to utilize technology, to always be marketing. And the ones who already had those habits develop, I think they're just finding innovative ways to just keep crushing it. It's amazing what's happening with webinars and podcasts and virtual mediations, everything. It's great. I think it's really, it's tragic that it's happening this way, but I think this really is the transition between the technological age and the virtual age. This is the catalyst that's really going to set you apart. So if you can really thrive in these next couple of months, double down on marketing, get your processes tight, finish those closed loops of technology, you're really going to come out, like you said, 10 steps ahead when this is all over.
So one of the things that's very unique, and why I'm glad you and I have a chance to speak, is because many of the people that I've been interviewing are law firm owners, and you've worked with thousands of firms from all around the nation, every practice area, everything. And in a way, this is almost like your swan song, because for years you've been pushing technology and automation. And it's like we've been thinking conspiracy-wise, who's behind coronavirus? It's probably Zoom. And maybe Alvaro,
Amazon.
Because
Amazon,
because this has been what you have been pushing for years and encouraging firms to do, to get set up for either black swan events or really any type of adversity.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's interesting how it's affecting the different states. We're all over the country, and the different practice areas. Some practice areas are getting hit harder than others. But there's a lot of them that are still thriving. They're still not skipping a beat. They found a way to adjust. And so I have a lot of clients just texting me, calling me, hey, what do you think about, should I let people go? What should I do with social media? Do you have any good ideas? And so I'm getting a lot of just proactive people coming out and saying, hey, Alvaro, how can I take advantage of this?
So actually, those would be my next 3 questions then. So should we let people go?
No, so I think you mentioned it at one of your conferences. If you've got bad people, obviously this is going to expose them, but I'm saying keep your people, keep your team, get creative on how to keep them, because this will pass, and good employees are so hard to find that when you get them, if it's 1 in 3, 1 in 4, you've got to keep them and find a way to show them that, hey, we're going to get through this together. We're going to be a team about this. I'm going to lead you through it. We're going to be okay. It might hurt a little bit, but, just don't. And now with the PPP, with the Payroll Protection Plan, with what Georgia and some states are doing with the Department of Labor to cover that unemployment gap, all the more reason not to let your people go. You've got to give them the faith and just know that we're going to get through this. We're just adapting on, how to live in this world.
So on the converse of that, I'm curious as to your thoughts. How do you think so there's a lot of people that even a week into this thing were laying off 75% of their staff. They've been, very panicky, very frantic. But what do you think the long-term effects of that will be for law firm owners that responded in this way? Because this will pass, as you said.
So I think it's a fundamental way of how you perceive things. Do you operate out of fear, or do you operate out of the potential? I naturally operate out of the potential. I think obviously you do too. And the people that operate out of fear, out of emotion, they were already doing that before, and I think this just exasperated the situation for them. And they ultimately just need to learn how to make more logical decisions and not emotional decisions that are based in fear, because you're going to turn around in 2 months. It's like, wow, we actually made it, and I lost some good employees.
Yeah. Well, and not to mention what their reputation could be in their community, how they could be perceived by judges, other attorneys, and so on. I think it really could go either way. So then on the other note, let's say from the standpoint of opportunities, you mentioned social media and marketing. What are some of the opportunities that exist?
So obviously social. I mean, if you weren't on that bus before, now's the most important time to be doing it. And so having that constant presence on social media, I think doing things like what you're doing with the podcast, the Game Changer podcast, giving advice, reaching out to people, I think that's critical because everyone's on social media right now. And so take advantage of that. The other thing is I always say market an hour a day. And so one of those habits should be going to lunch with your referral sources. Obviously that can't happen right now, but still find a way to touch your referral sources. We've got a mutual client, Missy Strickland, Buckhead Family Law. For her referrals, she's giving away gift certificates to local restaurants. So she's thanking the referral sources. She's reminding them that they're out there, and she's helping local businesses. And so I think that's critical. I think also touching your database, your client campaigns, now's a good time to remind them that you're out there. So there's a lot of things. I mean, you can't go to lunch, you can't go to a conference, but there's still social. You can still blog. You can still do podcasts. I've seen a lot of people doing some creative things out there. So just keep that momentum of marketing an hour a day, but just find a way to adapt, to touch your referral sources on social, to touch your clients, just to always be out there.
Well, and you could always do like a virtual lunch. As ridiculous as that would sound months ago, I actually think that we're united by like a common threat, if you will. It's bringing people closer together.
Absolutely. You're seeing things, virtual happy hours. Like, I don't know if you saw that.
We got one later this afternoon.
Yeah. So, I mean, people want to connect. We just have this, I guess, natural, innate desire to connect with other people. And so, like I said, if this is the virtual age that we're entering into, and this is the way that we interact, then embrace it. But then also I think it's going to make us more appreciative when I can give you a man hug. You know what I mean? Like, you
think hugs are coming back?
The Hawks? So they released
hugs and the Hawks.
Oh, yeah. So hugs will come back. The Hawks will come back. I just think it's really a good moment right now for everyone just to kind of just reflect. It affects everybody all across the world, regardless of profession, regardless of wealth or status. And it's just, getting back down to your roots and what's important. And if you can focus that time, not only on yourself, your family, but especially your business, your law firm, now's the time, to spend when meetings are canceled, when courts are canceled, now's the time to work on your business. You have no excuse.
So, obviously there's a lot of opportunity, and you, over the years, I mean, I can't even count how many firms that you've helped grow. I mean, you've seen it all. And I'm curious, on the converse of this, what would be some of the biggest mistakes that a firm owner could make right now?
Well, I mean, we touched on some of them. Losing key employees. Based from fear, not taking advantage of the downtime to streamline processes, to help your technology be more efficient, to automate your practice. The ones that aren't marketing, the ones that are just kind of staying home. I know it's difficult, especially if you have kids, to juggle everything, but if you're just putting your head in the sand like an ostrich, there's going to be other firms that are ready to take you over. That's the thing. There's so many clients and firms in every practice area that are taking advantage of this situation. And not to say that they're preying on the weak, but I do have clients that are asking, hey, do you know anybody that's a solo that wants to get, acquired and not worry about what's going on? We'll gladly take their cases and use them. And that's genius. So you either take advantage of the situation or you run from the situation. I think the ones that run they're not going to make it.
So what would you then say to someone, let's say they're watching this and they're like, well, that's easy to say for a firm that's successful and has been doing well, but my situation is different, X, Y, Z, all those different things. Like, do you, let's say we're talking about a smaller firm that's in a huge cash crunch, all those things. What are your thoughts? Or is it just a matter of perspective?
I think it's a matter of perspective. I mean, everything comes, I think, initially for me is mindset. If you've got the right mindset, I think it dictates your whole day. Even from waking up an hour earlier just to have that time to get into the day, as opposed to snoozing 5 more minutes, and then you're in a rush and aggravated and upset at everything.
Yeah, snooze doesn't work.
Yeah, I know.
They've proven it. They've proven it. Like the incremental amount of, like, you don't even get good sleep. You just, whatever the 5 or 10 minutes is, you're better off you're better just getting up.
Yeah. So, I mean, to the smaller firms, hang in there, really take advantage of this time to work on your business, work on your brand, market, figure out all the things that you've been wanting to do with thank you letters, welcome packets, closing letters, asking for testimonials, right? If everyone in 2019 was great and the first 2 months of 2019 were great, go back to those clients, ask for testimonials. There's things that you can always be doing to work on your business. And if you're using this as an excuse to, I don't have to get up until 11 now because my first meeting's not until 11:30, you're just, you're missing everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, I just had this thought. It's like, I don't know if you ever saw the show Leftovers on HBO, where I think is 3% of the world's population just vanishes. I think it's important to realize that we're all still here. Like, your client's still here. They're just at home, so that you can, and even prospective clients, they could be future clients. They're all still in existence. They're just not driving around and going to work.
I think, so for me, it really hasn't changed much because I think 30% of our clients are in Georgia. So the majority of my meetings around the country are like this or on the phone. So nothing's really changed for our employees, for how we service our clients. And the other thing is, I think everyone was just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. I think now that there's this stimulus package, there's some payroll protection, we know that this might be about 30 days. I think we're all mentally okay enough to start making these investments, to continue to market, to just keep putting stuff out. The first thing you don't want to cut is marketing. And so, this is a time to really just take advantage of that.
So then to close out, I mean, Alvaro, something I've always admired about you is just how zen you are, everything from cycling to meditation and so on. But what would be a message you want to leave people with right now?
I mean, let's go back to mindset. I think it all comes down to what you have, how you perceive things in your mind, operating out of a place of potential, of opportunity, of positivity, of giving, give back. Just, trust that the karma will come back to you. It will come back to you. And so, just give, be positive, try to help people through this. have the right mindset, and I think that's really going to make you thrive and everyone around you, especially if you have employees.
Awesome. Have you been playing that guitar more?
No, well, that's one of my. I'm going to pick up a couple new songs over the break. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Alvaro, thank you, sir.
All right, man. Good to talk to you.